everybody, welcome back live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. Hope you're all doing well out there. Hope you're all getting through the snowstorm. These aren't that bad these days, right? Come on, we're used to this in New England, although less and less used to it. I feel like the last few winters haven't been too bad, but a little snow here in Newburyport. With that, I bring in the mayor of Newburyport and a very exciting week for the mayor, Reardon. We've pulled papers. It's official. We're going again.
It's official. We're going to try to go for another 4.
We're going to try to go for another 4. I like that phrasing. That's exciting.
It is exciting. Yeah, no. I wanted to do it early. I wanted people to know that I still love my job and I want to keep doing it. And, we've got a lot of good things that we're in the middle of right now. And we have a lot of good things that we've accomplished, and so I want to keep the momentum going, and I wanted to get the word out there that I'm right where I believe I should be, and I want to keep going.
Yeah, one thing I will say about you, I try to not get too political on the show either way, but I'm sure there's people that disagree with you or decisions, and that always happens in your seat. But almost across the board, I don't think I've ever actually met anybody who says a bad word about you personally, which is a pretty good thing.
That's great.
That's people like you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. I mean. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I thought I'd be good at this job is that I am generally someone who I think gets along with people and likes to work with different people to get things accomplished. And like you said before that, though, no matter what I do, whether it's regards a parking ban for a snowstorm or whether I've decided to pave a certain number of streets on my streets and sidewalk plan, like there's always going to be, no matter what decision I make, there'll always be a handful of people that disagree with it. So
sure.
I mean, I knew that going in, but I always thought, like, what I try to do every day in my job is just, as long as I can let people know what the information is that I have, why I made the decisions I made, and then just make that as transparent and public as possible. I've tried to do that with everything, which is why I do things like this. It's why I do my Mayor's Corners every week, and that's why I do Mayor's Updates to the City Council. I want everyone to always know what we're thinking about, what we're doing. This is the information we have that we're working on to do it. And then talk to them why we think it's the best move forward for Newburyport.
And this show is very, very popular, so you've made a great decision there. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep. No, I'll come on this show every week. I love this show. This is fun.
Thank you, Mayor. Speaking of parking bans, do not park in the city today. It's just one of those days. How does this all play out with snow preps and all that stuff?
Yeah, no, it's funny because like you already mentioned this a little bit, but like my first year in office, I think like day 2 we had to make a decision right away. It's like it's one of those things like you have the power of as mayor, but then until you're in the job, like you've got the DPS director knocking on your door saying, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to turn on the blue lights? Like this is what we're thinking for snow removal. And so that first year we had a couple really good storms in January. So you got to know really quick. I mean, I was on the news all the time for Plum Island, and this is when we're dealing with the beach and the emergency rocks and all that stuff and the high tides. But the last 2 winters have been very, very mild. So it's been funny in January. I think it's been a little bit of like getting back into the swing of dealing with these smaller storms that can be problematic, right? If you're 1 or 2 inches, do you have a full out plow out there, or is it more about treating the streets and doing salt? This past weekend was one of those examples where we didn't, drop the plows, and a lot of people were calling in with complaints. So I think we'll probably be a little bit more aggressive moving forward, and that's why for this storm today we went with the parking ban early. And the midday storms are weird too. You're used to the ones overnight, but those are even tougher because businesses want to be open and people want to be able to get out and about. So we did end up calling a parking ban today. It started at 9 a.m. We put the blue lights on last night. So we're asking people to stay off the roads. It's a snowy mix, so we could get anywhere between 3 and 5, and then it's going to turn into rain. And it's going to just get really gross out. So I would recommend, if you can, stay home. Let the DPS do their job, and hopefully we'll get the streets cleared in time for everything tomorrow.
I would imagine. That really does hit close to home, that 1 to 2 inches thing. That's the tough storm for you. Are you like watching, you're supposed to get a couple inches. Are you like watching the snow? Like, is this going to be more than a couple inches? Are people going to get mad at me?
Yes. And we do. And so we haven't had to do that a ton this year because we haven't had that big, really, significant storm yet too. And I think those is where you're like watching that line. And Newburyport is just always going to fall right on that line. It's either like, 6+ or it's going to be like 1 to 2. And you don't know if the wind changes a little bit, it can go in either direction. So it's tough for us. We have a couple different weather services that update us throughout the day, and it's a lot about time. I mean, I had a text. This is actually the first text in a while about this, but I'm on a mayor's text, and all these mayors were texting me. What are you doing? North Shore mayors.
Yeah.
What are you doing about the storm? Are you keeping buildings open? Because midday is tough, right? Like if you do a parking ban, and we have a parking lot behind City Hall, but besides that, a lot of employees are parking like on the street like everybody else. So if they don't have access to that. And I was just thinking of this. I just texted the superintendent. But but what the superintendent has to think of too, we have a lot of high school kids that drive to school. So if we have a parking ban, does that play into your decision? Even though it looks like the heavy snow is happening right now in the midday here on Thursday, but yeah, so we have to think about all those things and hopefully make good decisions and get the information out there to everybody.
Is that is a real thing, right? With, I guess, weather would probably be the main thing, but all the local mayors, you do try to be on the same page, right? Or at least communicate. It's nice to know what your neighbors are doing, right?
Sometimes, yeah, especially North Shore. Like again, every part of the North Shore gets hit differently sometimes with those storms, right? And then big places like Lynn and Salem, they have a lot of challenges when it comes to that, especially with their population of getting around cities like that. So I mean, I would say they probably lean more towards schools closing schools and things like that. They probably have to do that more often than we do. Where I think our superintendent really tries to save those days. We don't want to make those up in June if we can get some valuable school time in and then get people home, or if we can do a delay to save a day and let DPS and our facilities crew get buildings ready. We'd rather do that than try to make them up in the summer.
You got a hardworking staff over there.
They do, yeah. They do a great job, and I think we've just got some good people in places right now, and the communication's really great. So I know the superintendents do that too. They all call and kind of compare notes and see what they want to do. So it is what it is. But like I said, today it's kind of a yucky day. So might as well play it safe and keep people off the roads.
Is there again, we're joined by the mayor of Newburyport, Sean Reardon here. As you pull papers to run again here, you said, I think you used the word love, right? You still love the job?
Love the job.
Love the job. What would you say, are you like kind of did you come into it as being more of a control freak? Did you have to learn how to delegate a little bit more, or were you already pretty good about that when you came in? I imagine this job is all about delegating, right? You have to have people in place that you trust.
That's a big part of it. So, I mean, I would say, like, coming in, I loved, obviously, my hometown. I grew up here. So I come in with that. But you're also, inheriting a staff that you didn't necessarily put in place. And so, you never want to clean house and start from scratch. You have to.
Wait a minute. I'm not seeing that in Washington.
Yeah. I think locally it's probably a lot tougher. Plus, that's not my personality either. I always feel, the people in their jobs, I want to just be able to get the most out of them. And I'm lucky. I have a lot of great staff. But, walking in, I didn't have that, it's you got to build trust. You have to have a real good assessment of what they can and can't do. And that takes time when you first come in. So that's why I think some of the hires you do get to do right when you come in, like my executive assistant, Christine Jackson, who's amazing, like my chief of staff at the time, Andrew Levine, and then I brought in a project manager, Kim Turner. That kind of became my go-to when I first started. And then you start, building those relationships and building that trust. And like I said, now 3 years in, like, oh my goodness, I have just such a more of appreciation of what I had, and I've been able to bring in. We have a new fire marshal, new police chief, fire. Police marshal, fire chief, new DPS director, new health director, new IT director. So, we've actually brought in a new head librarian, new head of this Council of Aging. So we've actually brought in a ton of great people, too. And that's my favorite part about the job, or one of my favorite parts about the job, is just bringing quality people to Newburyport. I do think we're the type of the community that attracts talent. So I really think, I don't get too worked up when either we have a retirement or someone leaves, or, or if I had to let somebody go for whatever reason, that's, to me, is just always an opportunity to bring somebody great in.
Say you win re-election again, and Newburyport resoundingly says, we like how things are going here with Mayor Sean Reardon. Does it make your job easier having that support, having that experience, having that, this didn't work out like I planned a few years ago, but let's try it this way. I think we can. Does it make your job easier as you're in the seat for a long time?
I think so. You're always dealt with challenges. I just think, especially just because I just went through this process to hire a new chief of staff. I am such a different person, leader, executive than I was 3 years ago, right? Because no one's a mayor and then they I'm going to go get a mayor job in Amesbury instead. You know what I mean? I'm sure it happens, but it's very, very rare that, you're not hiring a mayor for a mayor's job. You're hiring someone with a certain set of skills that you hope transfers to, running a city on a day-to-day basis. So, that's why it was interesting going through the chief of staff position again, because now I'm dropping somebody in the middle of all these things we want to do. But then I'm certainly very different than I was when I first came in, and we were all trying to figure out and learn how do we move what we want to do forward, how do we learn about what we're doing right now, and how can we figure out how to do it better. Now we're kind of in the groove of what we want to do, and we're in the middle of pushing things forward. And now I just it's a different animal about getting somebody up to speed and trying to help with that. Because of all now, I think the big knock on me when I ran was experience, right? And you're right. I mean, I was running against a much older candidate, so I don't know if that's experience or not, but that's why I really spoke a lot about, the skills I'm going to bring to the table. But now running and whoever I run against, now I've got 3 years in the job. So now, the experience question is completely, now you might not like what I've done since I've been here, but I don't think you can argue about, I've been in the role now for 3 years. And like I said, I think I'm doing a good job. And like I said, I still enjoy it, which is great. And again, hopefully I get to do it a little longer.
I think you, I know this personally about you. I think you're a homegrown kid here, and you always are trying to do what's best for the city. Obviously, that's whether people disagree with you or not. I do think people probably see that in you. That's probably one of the traits, right? I mean, what is the thing? Is it snowstorms? You talked about a little bit, but what is the thing that people tend to get on the line with you about the most? Would you say what are we doing here? I don't like this move by you.
Like I said, honestly, literally everything. I think you'll talk to somebody who doesn't really like it, right? Yeah.
Every issue.
Like, I mean, for example, this past year, one of the biggest things that happened was, we were working with the owner of Port Plaza around a vacant Kmart building, and he wanted to move forward with a housing plan. Yeah. And so, we were trying to figure out the best way to work with them to do that. They floated the idea of doing a friendly 40B development. We won't get into the weeds in this too much, but it's just kind of a state-run affordable housing project where a certain percentage of it has to be affordable housing, and because it's a 40B process, it kind of bypasses a lot of the local zoning.
Sure.
So it's not usually a position a city and town wants to be in, but because we're below our 10% threshold of affordable housing, we're vulnerable to that. So we decided to work with them on it and do a friendly 40B. And I couldn't tell you, around town, I had so many people stop as we were going through this, and then we finally signed the agreement with them. So many people stopped to tell me how great they thought it was. But then at the same time, someone will post something on social media, again, not reaching out to me personally or my office, and don't like the idea. Why can't we get a Trader Joe's there instead? Even though that would bring twice as much traffic and congestion and problems in itself. But all those types of things. So that's why you just never know. I mean, I had people take the time to either stop me on the street or even write or stop by my office hours and say, "Wow, this is the best deal. You're really addressing what a need here in Newburyport," and then others think it's the worst thing ever. Why change our city? Don't do anything. So it really doesn't matter what it is. There's always somebody that will think something differently.
I'm pretty sure social media is a dangerous place for a mayor.
Yeah, I try not to pay. This has probably been one of the toughest things, right? Yeah. Is that you do get criticized quite a bit, and so you
can do it aimlessly too. You can do it. What do you call those keyboard warriors? Right, where they can throw it out there, see if we can stir something up.
Yeah. So I stay off a lot of it. I mean, I do use it for getting information out there, but I don't follow a lot of it, and it does take a lot not to respond to some people who clearly are posting something that they don't have all the information on, and which is why I do try to use all the the tools in my toolkit as far as getting the information out to people so people know why we did it. And again, at the end of the day, you still might not like what I did, but at least you hopefully will understand what my thinking was and why I think it's a good move to move the city in this direction.
No doubt. The mayor of Newburyport, Sean Reardon, in the house here. He has pulled the papers to run again. Very excited. 4 more years is the goal here. I imagine when you do that, you don't pull the papers and say 4 more years if you don't have you still have grand plans, things you want to get to, right? I mean, that's
for sure.
Yeah, you want to touch some of those
Well, I mean, I think going in, some of the big things that we talked about, affordability in the city. We talked about a new rec center for the Recreation and Youth Services Department.
How's that affordability thing going? Because I know so many cities around Boston are really struggling.
It's difficult, right? And I think the housing is a big piece of that. So we have tried to address some of that a little bit. In Newburyport, It's based on your budget. So, again, I think on the city side of things, we've really tried to be thoughtful each year and not, have a huge percentage increase in our budget, trying to do more with less, I guess, and, be more efficient and effective. And I think this year in particular, we're really going to be diving deep into our budget to do that, especially on the school side as well. So that's a piece of the affordability, right? Because I do think that housing piece, we have people like my parents who, maybe bought their homes, in the 70s or early 60s. And now they're worth a lot more than in their retirement age that they can handle, right? But they also can't sell that house because they have no place to go in Newburyport. And to them, the most important thing to them is to stay in Newburyport. So we have people kind of stuck in that case. I do hear that a lot. We heard a lot of that during budget season last year. That's why I think things like the Kmart building or like down the MBTA station, the Minco buildings, they're about to do a third building down there, which again, 80% affordability isn't incredibly affordable, but it is better than, it might be a better option for someone than going to try to buy a house in Newburyport right now, which the average home in Newburyport is over $1 million.
Yeah.
So, those types of projects, the big thing that we worked on this year was the Brown School. We're in a great position there. We've got a 100% affordability project going in there at 60 and 30% average median income. So that's going to fill a need because those types of rentals just don't exist in Newburyport right now. Newburyport's lost over 300 rentals since 2012, right? So those days of like these older homes that were kind of split up into apartments that a lot of like the stores and restaurant people used to live in back in the day, those have all been transformed into single family homes. So we've lost a lot of that. So how do we kind of keep what we have and keep doing, great things, but also, give people more options? And I think if you did have more variety in housing, that could alleviate some of the pressures around, real estate taxes and also, just prices going up and up. So, I mean, the affordability thing is a tough thing to solve, but it's definitely something that we can kind of chip away with. And it's just about being thoughtful with your city dollars.
Yeah, I mean, you can chip away with it from your perspective as mayor, but it is a bigger economic problem throughout the whole country. And does it worry you as a mayor of Newburyport? This is such a vibrant city with an amazing downtown and so much to do, restaurants, live music, it's just a bustling place. When you talk about $1 million as the average home, does it worry you about young people who are not buying homes as much and, maybe can't settle in a place like Newburyport, and you want young people to be a part of this community, obviously? Yeah,
they say the biggest population range that's leaving the state right now in record numbers is ages 25 to 32. And I get it because, I mean, they have a hard time, affording something right here, right now. So it concerns me. I think Newburyport's not like immune to that, but I do worry about it statewide because if we're not trying to keep some of our people here, I mean, I think that's difficult, which is why I think it's difficult for Newburyport because we're so built out already. That's why these pockets of like Kmart, Brown School, we have this big portion of Waterfront West that's going to be hopefully developed. That could come up this year. That was a big thing that was talked about the last campaign. So we have these pockets of developments that could still happen that I think will hopefully benefit especially the younger generation who might, like my kids, who might want to, rent and still, live in Newburyport and hopefully get to that point where they can buy. But, it's tougher and tougher for people to stay in the area.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, Boston's having the same issue, the biggest city around here.
Yeah, it's not unique to Newburyport. Yeah. I mean, like when I go to my mayor's meetings, we're all talking about the same things, right? Yeah. And it's also pressures, we get on our school budgets that are dominating. I mean, we have similar, issues that hopefully the state can help us address to the most part, but a lot of it's going to have to be solved locally.
Let's talk schools a little bit. Mayor Sean Reardon here joining us. He has pulled the papers to go for another 4 years here, which is very exciting. I grabbed him as soon as I heard that news. Come on, let's bring it in. One thing I love that you do for this station and just for the high school kids is I love watching you and your dad call those basketball games. I think that's fantastic.
It is so much fun. And I tell people, I think people, I don't know if we've done more games this year and whatnot, but I just do have a lot more people talking about it. Yeah. I think they like seeing us both at the game. Plus, I think they know how much, how much my dad means to me as a person, but also, I mean, he was such a basketball influencer here in Newburyport for such a long time. So for us, it's just so much fun to sit there and whether it be a boys game or a girls game, just get to talk basketball. And, I get to kind of, live my fantasy of being a radio sportscaster guy for a little bit. But no, we have a lot of fun and it's just, it gets us out. And like I said, anything I can do to support Newburyport High School, I'm happy to do.
And it is good father-son time, right? I mean, I know I know you're on the mic to kind of putting on a show too, but it's also, you get get to hang with Dad for.
Oh my goodness, it's great. No, good quality time. I'm so lucky. I've got my, both my parents still with me and here in Newburyport, and my wife grew up in Newburyport too, and her parents are here. So I mean, we just, we try to take advantage of that and just enjoy every second that we have with them.
I called the game with your dad. He's an outstanding color commentator. He does a great job. Dad, those guys are good this year too, huh?
Oof, that boys team, and like I said, I haven't got to see them until my daughter's on the JV girls team. So that's why I've been doing mostly the girls games when I can. But my dad and I were able to do the boys game the other night, and then I did one against Georgetown. But even like the games that were supposed to be close for them in the Cape Ann League are just been absolute blowouts. So it's fun to see. They really do play great together. It's like a good core group of juniors and seniors, and it'll be interesting to see where they land in the tournament and if they can make a little run. Yeah,
we had them in here. They were a fun group. I will say one thing about the Newburyport kids. I mean, I'm sure they send me their best people. No, I'm just kidding. But everybody who's come in here has been very just great from a high school leadership perspective. It's some good role models there.
We've got some good kids up there, and like I know particularly that basketball group. Just they like each other. They like playing together. They're up every morning playing before school starts in the gym. Like they've really put the time in. So it's just great to see, the fruits of their labor like play out. And again, I think everyone had this kind of year penciled. Like this was the year that they could really make a run.
Yeah.
I was around for that run in 2000 when Harley Davis and Christian and Kevin Hale led that group to the state title for Division III, and it was just awesome.
It's a blast for the city, isn't it?
It's just a blast for the city. The bus rides to the games and going to the Garden, and then out to back then it was the Worcester Centrum for the final, but just a magical run. And again, who knows what's going to happen to this group, but I'd love to see them make a nice little run in Division III.
Yeah, no doubt. I called that game. They put up 100 for Essex
Crazy.
Tech. Essex Tech, I mean, I don't know. They're probably not one of the top teams around, but they could play. This was not like a bunch of scrubs they were rolling out there. And Newburyport just couldn't miss.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, no, they got 5 kids that can score pretty much from anywhere, and
that night they had 11.
Yeah, and they're unselfish. Well, when you play the tough games and you don't get into your bench that much because they have a lot of juniors and seniors on that bench that don't get to play a whole lot. But I mean, I saw those kids grow up and play, and those kids can play. So when they do get the chance to play in some of these games that they've built that 20-25 point lead, I mean, they're out there to play. I was one of those kids once before I was a senior. I was the captain of my senior team when I finally got to move up. But when I was that sophomore and junior, when I was sitting on the bench, it was going up if I had a chance to put it up. Well, so I get it. And like I said, again, I think they're feeding into just the excitement about being a part of that team.
Well, yeah, you know what it's like playing on a good team like that. It's like those guys are working just as hard in practice and making those first 5, work hard every day, when it's not a game day. That's why one thing I always say, you can kind of tell how good a chemistry is on a team by when those subs come in and they're making shots, how excited those starters are on the bench.
I love that.
I was loving watching that night. Yeah. Those guys were all in. Granted, they wanted to get to 100 too, but yeah, they were loving it.
I think we both said the same thing. I mean, how often do you see a high school game get to 100 points?
8-minute quarters.
I just can't. It's just a crazy number.
I saw our coach. I'm going to say his name wrong. Not Diemendorf. I saw the Newburyport coach.
Oh, Mark, Elmendorf.
Elmendorf, sorry. Diemendorf. Didn't he was BC player back in the day, I think.
I think you're right.
Where did that name come from? Good Lord. Losing my mind. But I saw him at the hockey game 2 nights later, and I said, my goodness. He's like, I put in my subs, and they played almost the whole second half. I'm like, no, trust me, I know, I saw it.
Oh, yeah, no, that wasn't,
Yeah, because you do worry about that as a coach, right?
Sure,
it's like, you try to take your foot off the gas pedal a little bit, but you can't tell your kids to shoot it into the stands.
Right.
It's a weird sport in that regard. There's a shot clock and you have to shoot it. But I don't know. Good luck to those guys as they finish the season. As you think about I know you're thinking about just today and tomorrow and the next day. You're a day-to-day guy. But as you think about the longer run here and you pull your papers from mayor, what do you think has made you a better mayor today than when you first jumped on? Is there one thing in particular?
Well, I think like I already talked about, getting to know your staff, I think, is crucial, right? I think I'm a much better, and I thought I had these skills anyways, but I think you're much better at dealing with personnel issues and dealing with different departments and how to make them better. So I would say that, but also, starting some of these big things and finishing them. Like we've had a lot of projects that are not necessarily easy to manage. I mean, we've had a bulkhead project, we've had a Market Landing Park expansion, we've had numerous park projects happening all around the city at the same time. We've rolled out a 5-year streets and sidewalks plan that's moving out through the summer. So I think just having the experience of starting some of these things from, starting these projects not from scratch, because some of the planning had started before I got there, but getting the funding for it, like identifying how you're going to pay for these things, selling it to the city council, selling it to the community, and then actually putting a plan into action to get the project done, and then seeing it finish like on budget, on time, those types of things. I think every time that happens, it obviously builds your confidence, one, in what you can do, but it also, I think, builds confidence around other projects that could happen, because now you can do it, you have the right people in place to make it happen. And like I said, we have a lot of things this year that, we have the State of the City coming up on February 26th, 7 p.m. at City Hall, and that's a really a wonderful opportunity to, one, talk about all the successes and all the achievements from the past year, single out departments, but then it's also a time to talk about what's coming next, right? Yeah. And we have a lot of things that could fall this year, and it's election year too, but a lot of things that could fall this year. So I love talking about those things so people are not hearing it for the first time when it happens, but like, hey, look, there's a 3-month or 4-month span here that there are a lot of big things that could come not only through the mayor's office, but also make its way to city council and where decisions have to be made. So that part is really exciting. And I, again, having that 3 years of experience behind me now, I think all the time now, I think we're probably more strategic, because now we're looking at big picture. City council passed a new schedule this year, so they actually have less meetings that they're dealing with. So like, we really have to look at the big board and then figure out what is the best way that this process starts and then gets through city council so we can get started.
2 quick ones to end. Does election year change governing at all, or do you just kind of do your job and?
Well, it's funny because I haven't had to do it yet, right?
Yeah.
I know it was weird 2 years, like a year and a half ago or so, when all the city council ran, and I didn't have to run because I have a 4-year term. The city council is on 2-year terms. So I thought that was weird. So yeah, this year should be interesting. People will start thinking about from here on out whether they're running, whether those be councilors or people who want to run for mayor. So that's why I think like this first quarter or even into April and May, once budget starts, that's probably my best chance to get some of these things done and moving forward. And then after that, I don't know what happens with campaigns and how much appetite there'll be on the council to do things politically. So I don't know. Like I said, it'll be a new experience for me. I want to work every day this year and get a lot of things done, so I'm not going to stop. But like I said, hopefully we can just work with the council and keep moving forward on a lot of these things.
And with this, a lot of musicians are in the show. You actually just, we were talking out before the show here with some guys that are playing the GOAT here tonight in Newburyport. Seems like there's some good nightlife, especially in that area, like kind of down on the water, the GOAT, the Michael's Harbor sides of the world. That seems to be going well. I've talked about this with you before. I always feel like downtown Newburyport can, if it wanted to be, could be like more like a Portsmouth.
Sure.
Like open later, like, music and just, it's not quite like that. Is that a choice by Newburyport? Would you like to see a little bit more of a nightlife downtown, or it's more of such a tourist attraction, but it does seem to be more like early hours? Yeah,
no, I don't think it's by choice. I think this is just over time. This is what it's morphed into. I mean, for me, like for being a bartender for so long, I relied on those, and I only worked weekends for a long time too. So I relied on, patrons and late nights, and we used to do live music for a time. So I just think a lot of establishments have either done it for a while or got away from it, whether it be from COVID and never got back to it. So I do think it's more about just activating the downtown. I think the GOAT's been an incredible addition because they're doing it all year round now too. I mean, even just how it was decorated this last holiday season. We went down a couple different times.
They went all in.
They went all in with that, which is great. And you got like this. The deck right across the way that does a lot of good music in the summer too. So I do think it's something we can build on. I mean, that waterfront west piece around the GOAT, what I'm talking about, that boatyard, that's the piece of land that could be coming forward with some sort of development that we'd have to, bring to the public and the city council would have to approve. I've been in negotiations with them for about 3 years, and we're close to the point where something could be coming forward. To me, that kind of completes our waterfront, and it would. And if there's a hotel piece to it, then hopefully that just brings people around Newburyport year round. So I mean, that's where I'd like to get to. I would love, this is this is a lot of times considered the slow time of the year in Newburyport, but I would love to get to this place where this is where people want to go in the winter to hang out, listen to the music, go to a show. The new director of the firehouse is a music guy. He wants to bring a lot more people in there, Craig. So
Craig Sundberg.
Yeah, Sundberg. So I think we have a lot of good things going for us. I hope it's just more, if we have a great summer this year, maybe it's more of these places will bring it back. And, again, I think you can't go wrong with live music every night in a bunch of different places in Newburyport.
Yeah, summertime's great. Wintertime's beautiful here. It's no
Great.
better walk in city when the snow is.
Yeah, no, let's do it. Like I said, Salem owns Halloween. I go, why can't we own, Christmas and in the early winter, right? Nobody else is doing anything. Why don't you come to Newburyport?
Well said.
Have a good time.
Sean Reardon, congratulations on pulling the papers. I know it's always a big moment. Exciting times for the family, I'm sure. Strap in and here we go, right?
Here we go. Let's do it.
Pleasure as always. Sean
All right,
Reardon,
thanks, Drew.
Good luck on the snow day, everybody. You'll be fine. Just, take it slow and be careful shoveling or whatever. Maeve Power, it is her birthday. Happy birthday to our lovely
birthday, Maeve.
producer, Maeve Power, the big 26 years old. Birthday week, celebrate all week, and thank you, Maeve, for all the great work you do. Lily Dissett in the house, Ryan Rothberg, Sarah Hayden, the boss, our small but mighty team here in Newburyport. Sean Reardon, thank you, sir. We'll see you next time, everybody, live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive.